So I'm Matt Malatesta. We started VYPE 15 years ago. We've been covering y'all forever. It's been a pleasure. What y'all do countless hours of is awesome for kids, parents. Even if parents are annoying, y'all do a tremendous job for them. All right, so we're going to start this with the legends section. So a couple of questions for Coach Nolan, Jimmy Duffer, Rocky Manuel, Gary Seals, or Gary Dunham and Ray Seals. Okay. When I started doing this, I noticed these teams that were so good had the best culture. Like, it's a cultural thing inside of a locker room. And you could go into some places and it's just kind of going through the motions. What is it about culture? What are the three kind of pillars of culture that you need to have inside of a program that's going to be successful? I'll start over here, and then I'll work back to Coach Nolan.
One thing you had to have your team together. Everybody had to be on the same page. I used to have a saying about locker room, things that happen in my locker room stay in my locker room. And what I meant by that, some good things happening now where you become brothers, playing with, coaching with the girls, sisters, and you just became a knit community. So I think that's one of the things that helped me in my success.
Coach Seals.
When kids came on our campus, we always pull them in, freshmen, and that was my group. So we always, let them know where you stand and where we stand on this field. And the thing about it, I always wanted my kids to know that we cared about you. It's not a screaming job or a hollering job or a cursing job. I care about you. I always took all of my freshmen for the years I got a chance to go by their home, see your mom and dad, or before that, so they know what we are about. And I always had a meeting, one big meeting, that we met the mamas and daddies and players, and they met all our coaches. All the coaches had to explain what he does, what we expect from them, what we expect from mom and dad, and what they can expect from us. So we did that, but I always thought our greatest thing was the kids knew that we cared. We blessed them. When they needed something, they got it. So I would say treat them right, treat them like human beings. And even like today, most of my football players still with me in hard. So I just thought our attitude fell into those kids, and they had the same attitude. So it kind of helped us out.
Baseball, it's tough because it's such a long season, and you've got.
Yeah, it is a 6-week playoff system.
It's a long season.
Basketball's 3 weeks.
Exactly. You got prom, you got spring break, you got graduation, you got so much going on. How do you keep it all together?
In fact, you're working with the team for 3 weeks.
Right.
When school's out.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's at home. I'm going to the beach, and you're out there in the damn field sweating your ass off.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
So
But
back
some
to
of the things we tried to do, just number one, use the sandwich principle. Compliment, constructive, criticize, and compliment. Like, hey, you're doing a great job, I appreciate it, but the tennis shoes, I don't know, they don't work that much. But hey, you're doing a good job. So I complimented you, I constructively criticized you, and I complimented you. The other thing is repetition, demonstration, correction, and then to get everything going. So you have instruction, then you want the kids to go ahead and apply what you've taught them to, then you correct them, okay, and then you go with the drill, because the drill doesn't teach a skill, And the other thing is, kids enjoy discipline. I didn't use intimidation, but I made sure the players knew what I was talking about, and not how I was saying it, but what I was saying. Hey man, I sure like them glasses on your shirt. I'm not ripping you. I'm saying I like your glasses. So I don't have time to coddle everybody, you know what I mean? So kids kind of like that. I think that's one of the things that are tough now for these younger coaches. You have so many diverse personalities and so many different ways you have to handle everybody that it makes it tough on them.
Right.
There you go.
Coach Duffer.
I think the biggest thing for culture is the consistency of the program, including the coaches and the kids. Kids coming in as freshmen, they know what you're about when you come in. And if you're consistent with them, with how hard you're going to work day in and day out, what's expected of them in the classroom, outside of the classroom, what's expected of your coaches, and how you communicate with your coaches, and how they communicate with your kids. And it's not a 6-week process. It's not, in basketball, you start October 15th and it's over, the middle of March. It's not like that. It's a year-round thing. And you're in constant communication with those kids, and your culture is built every day. And hopefully by the time the kid's a senior, they're going to be able to impress on the freshmen what's expected of them every day for the next 4 years of their high school career.
Well said. Well said. All right, we're coming back here, Bradley. Coach Nolan, talk about culture also. I mean, you built one at Lamar that spanned decades of winning. What was it? What's the kind of secret sauce to your culture?
I don't really think there's any secret sauce. I mean, there's a secret sauce, but it's got many components. First of all, I was always fortunate. I had real good people helping me, and if you got in our program, you knew we were playing for real. We were very competitive. Maybe the nicest thing I got when I retired was I got a card from Purdue University, and the coach started off by saying, "You're not even going to remember who I am, but I recruited your school probably the whole time you were there. And the thing I always liked about coming to your place was your kids always competed. They might not have been the best, they might not have won the game, but they competed their ass off." So I think it just starts, a lot of things that they said down there. You got to be consistent. You got to let the kids know you care about them. One of the things I always did, I'm retired now, so I don't guess I can get in any more trouble when I got in. But, one of the disadvantages in HISD is school doesn't start till 8:30. So it puts you out later in the day. The kids get home later. Sub-varsity games later. You got to get kids out of class to go to sub-varsity games, all those things. But I tried to make it into a plus. I mean, we had 7 o'clock, the weight room was open, the music was on, 2 or 3 coaches were always in there. The other coaches walked through on their way to class. That's where the parking lot was. And, we couldn't make it, another football class, but, it was sure, we'd let, it was open to any kid in the school that wanted to come in there, boys or girls. All you had to do was just behave. You could have fun, but you had to behave. Because the weight room's a dangerous place. And especially that one we had there at school was pretty little. So, we started off thinking about football, every day of the school year. And, one of the coaches one time said, well, they shouldn't lift on the day we're going to lift at athletics in the off season. I said, these guys are 15 years to 16 years old. You used to have a 3-hour practice in 100-degree heat, and they come in there and get a drink of water, and if they see a basketball, hell, there's a game going on. And they ain't tired. They might think they're tired. So, but I just think it's the whole thing. And I was lucky to coach with a guy for almost 50 years, Jerry Martinez. We both just preach, show up every day, be on time, keep your mouth shut, and work your ass off. And if you do that, that's make you pretty successful in life. And there's a lot of, there's a million things that goes into it, Matt. But I thought that was one thing that we did. We started off thinking about football every day, by being in the weight room. Mm-hmm. And the weight room isn't everything, but when you see a 140-pound freshman back in the back, kind of going like this, looking at after he's been lifting a while, you got him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's yours. So just makes him work hard,
I didn't write this question, but if you coached before the internet, how did you get community support? Was it just winning? Was it just super grassroots effort? I'm going to ask you 5 guys also, like, how did you get the community support really just rallied around your program?
Well, we did a thing like the same thing Ray said. We would have the first week of practice. The rule then was, I think they've changed it a little bit, was you had 4 days in shorts, and then you could put pads on Friday, and then on Saturday morning we had a scrimmage, and every kid got to scrimmage some. Everybody got about 10 or 12 plays, and the parents came, and we cooked hot dogs and hamburgers. It even evolved into a little raffle, and we made a little money off of it, and everybody came, and it was kind of a thing, because that was a problem at our school, is that we have a very diverse population. It's not like everybody lives, in these 6 neighborhoods like it is, in the suburbs, where everybody kind of knows each other. And through the years, we tried different things, shirts with the kids' numbers on it, and because the parents do want to know who the kids are, because the kids talk about that stuff all the time at home, about the coaches, and about this kid and that kid, and they want to be able to put a face with the name. So it's very, very hard. It's very challenging, especially in a school like ours. But HISDs, I'm not going to get into all that, but as long as I've been in HISD, it was open enrollment pretty much. If you wanted to go to another school, you could go to another school. And anybody that says that's not true is not telling the truth. So it's a problem everybody has. So if you just do the best you can. I never worried about parents coming to practice or things like that, and I always kind of enjoyed parent conferences. I know there's something in here about telling young kids, if you got a parent that's mad at you, go ahead and give them a shot at you. Let them get it off their chest. That cures about 95% of it right there.
Right.
They had their say, and I'd always ended up with, I know what you want is for your baby to be happy, but I just can't always do that,
Well said. All right, in the back, how did y'all build community support back before you could just hit a Facebook group message and away you went?
Well, we did some things like Coach Nolan did at Lamar. We had a first Saturday out of the gates. We had inter-squad scrimmage. Played all 6. We had 6 teams at one time, and we cooked hot dogs, hamburgers, all that stuff. Played a sub-varsity in the morning, then another group of sub-varsities in the mid-morning. In the afternoon with the varsity, and we did that. But then we started a souvenir booklet for the players, and it ended up being over 300 pages. And I remember I was losing money, and Ray said, "Well, I lost money on mine." I said, "What'd you do, Ray?" He said, "I sold the pages for $50. I said, "Well, we're not doing that anymore. Those pages, we're going up for $200 a page." And we ended up $300 a page. And you do that, and everybody wants a page because they want to see their kids in a book. Everybody's doing that. Even elementary schools have a little souvenir booklet and everything, So we raised money that way. Then we started a hit-a-thon, And next thing you know, before you know it, you got $150,000, $200,000 a year to run your program. And away you go, You can build facilities and everything, because HISD at the time, like Coach Nolan said, it's hard to criticize them because there's a lot of positives with HISD, but everybody got treated the same. I mean, everybody got 10 dozen baseballs and 2 bats and this and that. Well, we'd order 100 dozen baseballs. Well, baseballs right now, today, $80 a dozen. So I mean, the days where they're $12 a dozen, those days are over. But you do things like that. So the community being involved, because parents support the things that their kids are involved in.
Very true.
And the parents that can't get up there to support them, they're still thinking about that program. Another thing that was said true, don't underestimate the fact that your student athlete talks about your program and you at home every night. Okay? Coach said I was a fine player. Well, how did he say fine? Did he say you're a fine player? Or did he say you're a fine player? You know, how did he say it? You know, they got to go through that and all that. You know, so there's a lot of positive. It's tough.
Yeah. How about y'all?
It's
Community.
lonely at the top, believe me.
Any thoughts around just building a community in Kashmir and Madison?
Like Coach Nolan said, during the first part of practice, I had a kickoff dinner, barbecue. Triple J's barbecue was one of my supporters. I had a big pit. I helped cook some. We would go out to the churches weeks before and tell them about it. We're gonna have scrimmage that day. Come watch the scrimmage. After that, have barbecue dinner with us. Support us. If you ever been to Kashmir homecoming back in the day, you know what I'm talking about. When you had 12,000 people at the stand, that was a big support for it. We did a neighborhood rally where everybody come together, tailgate party, parade, and sell dinners. And I made money off that to support my kids through the year.
Well, we used to have our own thing that we did, because we know kids don't go home and tell mom and daddy what you tell them to tell them. They don't bring nothing back, so you work through your parents. So what we always did with our kids, if we played on Friday night, we went to church on Sunday as a group. We started out with 10 kids one time, ended up with 90. Then we invited parents to also come. And they started bringing the TV out there, because we didn't have no money to do anything else with. But as far as getting what we needed, we were fortunate enough to have some players in the NFL that we always kind of took advantage of that. So, and some things that I won, we got about $50,000 off of that to put it out in our club. So it worked pretty good. But we worked with the parents more than the kids. We worked with the kids at home, at school, and parents at home. And then we started inviting them. You know, we had 4 of the biggest churches in Houston around my school. We take this one Sunday, and we take this one Sunday. Now, all the coaches didn't go. I did. They stayed there and looked at film, like that. So we got where they really believed in us, where they really supported us. And then our booster club got busy. So we had the things that we need, because I always say I want my kids to have the same thing Katie kids got. You know, we may not have a number of kids they have, but we can dress just like they can, and we did. So that's what we kind of put our program on every year. And our spring game, with our big money thing, we raised about $6,000 off of that. Because kids wanted to play in that game. I don't know why. They just had to play. But if you owe me money, you don't play. So everybody was selling that can and stuff like that. You don't get your money back in time. So yeah, mama's coming down to the game with a check. Like that. But you gotta do what you say. Don't say something and bag off. I told my coach, don't make rules that you're not gonna follow. I won't make a rule if I don't make Vincent Young follow. So he gonna do the same thing everybody else does. So it just got to the point where we just believed in each other. We took care of each other.
Well said. Coach?
You know, I was fortunate. Milby started going into basketball back in the 40s. So the foundation was there. Milby's a smaller community that we've always said it's like a little town within a big city. And as we got older, we would go to the elementary schools, and we always had a summer camp. And you know, you keep a price low. We got $25 every year, but again, it was get kids into the gym to see the banners, to see Milby High School. And you communicate with the elementary schools, and we had a booster club that the coach wrote a newsletter once a month during the season, and so that went out to your alumni. One of the common threads for all this was the alumni support that came back into the program, and that goes back to culture. The culture of your program gets alumni to come back and want to give back to the program and want to be a part, want to be in the stands when you're playing Austin High School at Barnett, or half the gym's closed. And, you know, they want to be there. They want to see things like that. And so You try to start it when they're young kids. I know that Rock always had a baseball camp and started back when he was at Davis. That's just what you did. You got kids to the school early to make sure that they were going to be a part of your program down the road when they came into high school.
Coach Turner, I'm going to ask you back here also, like on the girls' side, how did you get just, buzz around your program and throughout your community?
My experience was probably a little different because our building was brand new to open anyway, so there was a lot of buzz, and we pulled majority of our athletes from Lee High School. So the culture change was very different. Our parents were really excited, so we brought them in. We had a lot of Saturday picnics and things like that. Our booster club took off, and then it was all about communication. It was all about sending out emails all the time, once a week, always planning ahead, giving them the expectations, and then not veering from that. Coach said it really well, is that if you're going to expect it, you have to inspect it. If you're not going to do that, then don't make it a rule or a guideline for your group, and always outwork those kids. You got to outwork the kids.
Right.
They are very judgmental. They have the internet now. They think they know as much as we know. Sometimes I feel like they do. But you walk in and you don't have to prove that you're the boss. You're the boss. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to remind them. You just have to be consistent. But I do think getting the adults involved in the program obviously is the seed, and then building relationships so the kids come back is the flower on that. So you just have to work hard that way and be consistent.
Coach Glover, Barreras, Coach Wise, tell me what method, y'all have had some stars in your programs. What methods did you use to get those stars to buy into what you were doing on a daily basis? It's hard, especially now, but what sort of methods do you use to say, hey, you're part of this team, and you get them to buy in, and when you get the star to buy in, then everybody's going to buy in? How did that, give us an example of how that played out.
What we tried to do, first of all, I had a really great mentor. I still have a great mentor, John Lucas. And so I spent a lot of time with John and how they operated, how they dealt with stars on that level. And the first thing he told me was, I'm dealing with high school kids. Don't forget that you're the adult. So there was a line of respect that could never be crossed. And I made sure that they knew that I respect them up front. And then at the end of the day, they knew like Turner just said, they know who the boss is. Because one thing I hold over their heads, or the particular kid, was I control every minute of every game that you play. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need you. We need each other. But it came back to just being respectful. And then once we build that foundation of respect, we had a great relationship.
Ralph, how about you?
Well, I guess, in my case, here recently with Kendrick Davis, he's probably one of the, I would say, top 2 kids that I've ever coached. And I think it all goes back to relationship. I had a great mentor, Larry Dipple, who's in the Texas High School Coaches Hall of Fame, football coach. And I really patterned my program based on what I learned from him and his coaching staff. But, I think what you need to have is a relationship in place. Because just like with your wife, okay, most of the time you got a pretty good relationship, but but then when your personality kicks in, sometimes that side of your personality is not, it doesn't shine real good. She still got to like you, right? Okay, well, with a great player, I believe this, you got to coach to your personality. That's what Larry Dipple always told me. He says, you got to be you. I can't change who I am. I've tried in the past, haven't been successful for me. So bottom line is, when that personality kicks in, everybody knows, anybody's ever watched a game where I've coached, they know I'm not, hold a program, and sit down and I'm pretty active. So when I get after a kid, they got to know, hey man, I love you, I respect you, I appreciate you, but I'm gonna coach you hard, okay? And then when everybody comes knocking on that door, based on what you've done for that kid and what you do every day with that kid, I think that kid knows that, hey, there might be other places that have a lot of glamour, but Ken Davis came back to that little crackerjack gym that we had at Sam Houston, and we treated it like it was the best place in the world. And so anytime somebody came after him, he came back to the relationship that we had and the relationship that he had with our school and community and coaching staff. And so I think it's more about that than anything else.
Coach Wise, how about you? You've had some legends come through, legendary program. Is it the program? Is it you? Is it what keeps the stars in check?
Man, first, before we get that, can I take a second to just, people that just spoke how much I respect them, and I had a chance to kind of be around all of them once they retired, but the respect I have for those guys, just appreciate whoever got all this done. I feel like one of my best skills is listening, and so I just learned something from each one of them already, just from this small part. So I just want to thank y'all for what y'all done all this time. I might not be the best person to talk to in terms of that, because my mindset is, I'm gonna treat everybody the same. I remember my first day at Yates. I don't know if I can use this kind of language here, but most of those guys, they felt like they were gonna do it the way they want to do it. And the first day we tried to go out and dress out, and they told me that they don't dress, they don't get on the track. And again, I don't know if I can use that kind of language, but the language they came at me with, my first day was pretty strong. And so the best player, I took him and I said, man, let's go down to the office. So he started laughing and saying, man, this can't control me. He finna take me down to the principal to see if the principal can help him control me. And so once we got out there, he said, man, it's not the principal, it's the counselor. I said, yeah, because I'm going to get your ass up out of here. Had him checked out. Went back down to the gym. They looking, well, where's EJ? And I said, he's no longer on the team. Anybody else want to follow him? Man, that's the best player on the team. He was the best player on the team. Anybody else want to follow him? So with that, the way I handle my kids in terms of how much I try and respect them, I do anything I can for them if they're doing it the right way. I try and make sure the education part of it is done to where when they leave, they can go to school, basketball or what have you. The last 3 years we've had Mr. Yates in terms of, and that person has to have a high grade point average and fit all these things. So my thing, once we get on the court, and it's almost like a mini version of what Pop done with Duncan. If Tim Duncan can be coached, then everybody else is going to follow. And so I'm going to treat all of them the same. If I can get the best player to buy in, good. If he can't, then he probably need to be somewhere else. And so that's just the way I am. Well,
When you are a superstar and then you become a coach, how do you do that, Coach McGee? Like when you were in high school, you were really, really highly recruited. Go play college in the pros. Just talk about now, what did coaches tell you to kind of have you buy in, and now what do you use to get your star players to buy in?
Well, to be honest, I've been pretty fortunate to be around a lot of good coaches. And I think in the avenue of sports, you got to look at that word coach as a profession. And like in any profession, requires skill sets. Okay, and so I personally, as a coach now, knew that one of those skill sets was knowing the sport that I'm coaching, the X's and O's of it. You know, that's the easy part of it. But through those guys that I was around, everything that I loved about them or respected about them had absolutely nothing to do with the skill set they was teaching me. So in becoming a coach, which I think on this level is extremely, extremely difficult, understanding and getting them to respect that term coach. And the guys I work with, I tried to get them to understand that there's a lot of other things that goes into this to get that guy to understand, here's where you start, but here's where I would like you to be when you leave. And so when you're getting those kids to come into your program, you got to be able to establish that foundation to understand, yeah, that part of the skill set is easy, okay? It's those other tangibles that gets him to buy into the relationship that you're trying to establish with him, to get him to understand, hey, this is how you came to me, all right? And my job, the other skill set outside of football, is to get you to understand you've taken the time to invest in this, okay? When you leave, I want everybody to know that you were there, okay? That's how you spend your 4 years with me. So a lot of guys, when you get them in there, you get them to kind of understand, why get involved in something, okay, that when you leave, nobody knew you was there, okay? That's that untethered, tangible that as a coach and a skill set, regardless of what, sport you're teaching, that's the one that's most important.
Coach Seals may have the best relationship that you kind of see with the greatest player possibly in the history of high school sports in Houston. What was it like when you got Vince Young as a freshman to bring him into the fold and say, hey, we're not going to Katy, you're going to stay right here at Madison, and I'm going to tutelage you to greatness?
And the hardest thing, we never had any problem with, believe it or not one bit. The problem we had was convincing him the way things should be done. You tell him don't roll out, he keep doing it. So you send your linebacker and let him knock him down a few times. He don't go out no more. So we try to teach him what we need. But under God, we never had to discipline him for anything. He'd always say yes sir, no sir. He never missed practice. He led no FCA program. He's just one of those guys who had talent. You know what you got out there. So I felt obligated to make sure he can get to what he had to do. I make sure his grades were right. I took him out of those dumb class and put him in speech, so he know I knew he was gonna be in front of camera and things like that. So you know what's ahead for him, and we kind of got him prepared for that. And like I always told him, your life don't belong to you anymore when you get like that. So once you walk in that NFL, you can't do things that's your way. It got to be done the way it should be done. So we try to do that in Madison High School. He never walked away off the field, and coaching never had any problem with him. But he stayed in the office all the time. We talked. And my thing was, I didn't talk about football with my kids. I talked about life. I talked about what it's like, how you should be, what kind of dad you should be. Do you like your dad? Do you like your mom? It's not what they do that you don't like, that you make sure you don't do your kids like that. So I think you build men in there. The talent was there. He didn't need me for that. So you let him put it where you need him, and he'll do what you want done. So it works for us.
Coach Dixon, Coach Gray, y'all are kind of right in the heart of social media. Y'all do a great job also of helping promote. Y'all understand it. Y'all understand social media, and y'all are understanding how to get your kids kind of exposed. What are some kind of tricks to the trade that y'all have used to use social media to get some of your guys recruited and off to the next level?
Well, of course, I know I'm on Twitter quite a bit, and the first thing I've done to kind of get my kids recruited, and the first thing we'll go with is when we talk about HISD, you know, you're going to have recruiters show up to Katy. You're going to have recruiters show up to North Shore. You're going to have recruiters show up to Atascocita. A lot of those coaches don't even have to contact those coaches to come to your campus or showing an interest in your kids. But one of the first things I've done is go to the AFCA convention. I've been there about the past 8 years. And, you know, introduce myself to these coaches. Ask them what their Twitter handle is, ask them what their, you know, the head coach, the assistant coaches, even on down to the quality control coaches. And I just start following guys left and right. I start getting on Twitter and asking guys to follow me because I know that that's the way of the world, social media now. You got kids that's getting someone recruited that from 7-on-7 teams now because guys are giving them social media attention, but their football film looks like crap. So I think Twitter is the way of the world now. Social media is the way of the world. And I'm constantly bugging those coaches every day, every week, as much as I can to try to get my kids exposure. And it's not just Division I schools. Everybody can't play Division I ball. Everybody can't be like Coach and going to the NFL. I'm not just coaching, you know, contacting Division I. I'm coaching Division I, Division II, NAI. I want to get my kids something that will make them happy when they leave me.
That's what people think. It's Division D1 or nothing. It's really not like that. There's hundreds of other schools they can go to. Coach Gray, how about you?
Pretty much the same thing. Coach Dixon is the Twitter coach king, so
He is definitely.
I had to follow his lead. You know, I'm pretty much reserved when it came to social media, but watching Coach Dixon and getting those kids out, you know, I had to pretty much follow the same lead. So any type of success that your kids get, you want to, you know, put it on Twitter. Also, before Coach Dunham retired, and also with Coach Dixon right now, anytime a kid from my middle school or Fur was successful, Coach Dixon and Coach Dunham would reach out to those coaches and let them know, look, there's a guy at Fur High School that's pretty good. So we work as one unit, you know. It wasn't just the Heights kid or the Cashman kid, it was the HISD kid. So, you know, same thing with Coach McGee. We all work together. So the social media part is big now, but at the same time, working as a staff, as a group, we're all trying our best to get our kids promoted.
Y'all have talked about mentors. You know, mentors are such a huge deal. Coach, talk about David Munoz. Talk about mentor. Who would be your biggest mentor? Because you're at a very high-profile program at Lamar in baseball. Just give us a couple of names of who kind of your mentors were in coaching.
The mentors I've had that I followed, probably like a lot of the same coaches here, are my coaches, the people that influenced me when I was growing up, the behaviors, the actions. There were a lot of people. I was blessed to be around a lot of good people that made a big difference in me, not just as an athlete, but as a person. A lot of the skills, a lot of the interpersonal skills, the mental social stuff. You know, kids pay attention to it, and kids pay attention to how coaches act, react, respond. And I felt that my high school coaches, you know, I played 3 sports in high school, and they all had different personalities. They were a big influence. My high school baseball coach is now somebody I consider a very good friend, and he doesn't live in Houston, but he'll come and see some games when he can. I think it's important to have a mentor because it's somebody you need to speak to, and I think also as a young coach, as a head coach, you know, you're also influenced by your opponents. You know I learn a great deal. I appreciate being on the field with quality opponents, with quality coaches. You know, I pay attention to what other coaches do. We do a lot of scouting. We go to a lot of camps. We go to a lot of clinics. You know, we do a lot of things where we can learn and develop more relationships. So it's always evolving. The people you go back to are the ones that help you create the habits that you have. And once you create good habits, it's a reflection of what you've been taught. So, you know, I'm blessed. You know, I've learned a lot from people I work with. he interviewed me 24 years ago, and it was, it's not my sport, but I know if he's honest with you, he'll probably tell you that he'd rather coach baseball than football. But it's, again, it's the people that you're influenced by. That I've been blessed to have a lot of them, surround myself with a lot of them.
Coach Blanks, Westside Track, Westbury Track, that was a brand for so long, right? When in your career did you think, hey, we really got something here? Was it at the very beginning? Was there that kind of pivotal moment in your career where you said, hey, Westbury, I'm putting Westbury Track on the map?
First of all, you have to come in and establish whether you're going to have a team or a program. Anybody can just have a team and put a team together, but when you establish a program, you're establishing something that's primary, secondary, and afterthought. You accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, and you don't screw with Mr. In-Between. I always learn to whisper criticism and shout out praise. When my kids had to be successful, it's because I wanted to be successful. So when I came into Westbury, they used to call it Weekberry. And I told them that would no longer be the situation. That once we start working and running and doing the things that we're going to do, there would be no second thought about what kind of program we're going to have. And I speak of that right now. State champions this year in track are my twins out of Summer Creek. 2 years ago, state champion in track was Ramon Smith out at Klein Forest. Several years ago, 3 state championships in a row with Chad Jones over at Stafford. Wallace Santee in Georgia. Benny Brazil, men's coach at LSU. So, though they understood then that that was not going to be anything else other than success that was going to take place. If you couldn't be successful, then you really didn't have a chance to come and mess with me. Because my thing was that when you left me, I could only give you so much help. So while you're here, everything that we intend to do, we're going to do on a positive note, with discipline, with dedication, determination, and as much as I could give you. So I established that situation with those guys. I'm in contact with them right now. They still call me. They still ask me, Coach. I said, well, you're competing against me. You're whipping my butt every week, and now you still want me to help you. And the word come out, you're still my coach, so tell me what I need to know, and I do that. So it's basically, I knew the talent was there, but the talent was not being used, I felt like, in the proper manner. So I took the time to get them to understand that there was one boss, one chief, and everybody else you buy in. And if you do that, then things are going to work.
That's a great coaching tree.
Yeah.
Wow. Mr. Rogers, I'm going to go back to Coach Turner also. Y'all had superstar athletes in your home, right? In fact, I know because we've covered them. What, as a parent, and then also in education, what is the thing that you are basically not beating into their heads every day, but what are you doing every day that is kind of the key, that they're great athletes, but that make them great people and then make them really successful on the really elite level?
I think a lot of it is coming from a coaching father that was in HISD, a product of HISD. My daughter, as I was coaching, she grew up in the gym. She grew up with the girls in volleyball, on the track, watching my father do football. She grew up in there. So she knew the hard work it was behind the door at home. And it made her humble. It also made her hungry because she saw the determination that all these other kids was going out there putting in practice. Some you saw the fruits of the labor on the field, in the gym. Some did not, but she saw the effort they was taking and the effort that I had as a coach instilling in them, okay, go out there, you do your best. If you do your best, that's all you can do. Do your best that day. I tell that today. Do your best today. When you get to running, did you do your best? Yes. Oh, I could have did that. Okay, you didn't do your best that time. Do your best. Put your best foot forward, and you'll have a good, successful now, today, and tomorrow.
Coach, what about you?
I think that the respect I have for coaches is probably one for both the kids. Obviously, he's more well known, but I have never, don't get me wrong, I have wanted to many times, because you know, we become as coaches, and you guys can say that you don't, but I think strong coaches are legends in their own mind, right? So I'm a legend in my own mind. And so when, especially with basketball, when my kids were playing basketball, I wanted to say things. Like, there was things I didn't agree with, but I never said a word. Not a word to them. You're going to take care of the classroom, I'm going to get behind that, and I'm going to leave the coaches alone. I was at U of H one time because his line coach called and said he missed a test, and it was not pretty, and the line coach said, I'm scared of your mom. But I never was around the coach. I never went and checked on him in high school. So respect to coaches and let them do their job, and handle what's important. I think the biggest lesson that in our house was I always waited for the kids to say, I want to go play D1. Okay, well, your goals and your actions have to match. And every time they didn't match, you didn't go work out today? Well, then you need to change that goal, because you obviously don't want to play D1. You know, just keep reminding them that where you want to get to and what you do every day has to match. So either change what you do every day or change your end goal. And we just drilled that, and that's pretty much it. And let coaches do what the coaches do, and trust them. It doesn't matter what I wanted to see on any sport. Just trust them to do their job.
Coach, talk about West Side wrestling. You're thinking wrestling, right? But how you built a power for a long period of time. Y'all talk about consistency. That's another word we hear about a lot. You're building a program, not a team. How have you built a consistent wrestling program that's kind of feared across the state for a long period of time?
Well, you know, that goes all the way back to culture, right? You know, I was fortunate enough to come into a program that was pretty successful, and you know, I put that on my own shoulders to not only sustain that, but make it even better than what it was. And for me, culture is something that at first is something like a tree. You know, it's very, if you don't foster it, if you don't water it, give it sunlight, take care of it, it's very weak and it will go away. But as it grows, it becomes a tree, and it's something that you can lean on, that you can count on, and that is not going to blow in the wind. It's going to be something that's very sustainable. So, you know, it starts with establishing a mindset when you get there that this is what we do. And you know, for me, it's having a plan and following that plan. And then it's trusting in my kids to pass that on, like Coach said, to the new ones that come in, that this is the expectation of what you're going to be. If you're going to be a part of this team and this program, these are the expectations that you're going to follow. And like Coach said, kids want discipline. Kids want to be winners. And so if you want to be a winner, you're going to do what it takes to win. And when you establish that, it's not just about HISD, it's not just about the area, but it's about the state. We're going to go and get on the top of the podium in the entire state, and this is what it takes to do that. Then the program takes over itself, and you just kind of are, you're owner of the boat, but the kids are running the ship. And every year, you know, it's a new captain, and they are the ones that steer it. And you just make sure that they don't run the damn thing into the dock. So, you know, that's what it's about. You know, it's just maintaining that mindset of excellence. And, you know, honestly, if you ask my kids, that's what they expect. They expect to be at the top at the end. And so, you know, you just kind of make sure that they keep that mindset going.
Coach Harris, Coach Cirillo, where are y'all?
Harris.
Okay. So we talk about when you're at HISD, y'all are fighting a gap between the Cadies, the North Shores, the Pearlands, the Woodlands, the whatever. Give me an example of what creative way have you tried to close the gap between some of these super programs in yourself? It's a hard question. You go first.
Yeah, I'll start. For me, when I first started in HISD, it was always the reputation about, at Sam Houston rather, that Sam Houston was always at the bottom of the barrel across the board. And so when I first got there, I started coaching the way I used to coach in middle school. And then eventually I had to realize, hey, I have to change with the kids. The kids are not the same way when I was in school. And so eventually the kids started buying in. It goes from strength and conditioning, it comes playing outside, and unfortunately a lot of my kids don't have the opportunity to go play club. So we offer that at our school. And so with them taking that extra time buying into what you're offering, then you start thinking about, okay, I can do this. So for me at Sam, it was more of a mental thing, not an ability thing. So once you start letting the kids, hey, I believe in you, now you can believe in yourself, we became better competitors. So that's how we were able to bridge that gap. And one of the big things for my kid, a lot of times, it's not the victory with the W's and L's, it was moral victories. And that was the steps that we had to take. You can't eat an elephant in one big bite. So we had to gradually get there. And compliments that they get after a game, and we play some really good teams in our district, but for parents from other schools to say, hey ladies, y'all really play well. And sometimes I give that to my kids, but hearing it from other people is a moral victory for them as well. So I think that started when other people see what you're doing, and the kids, hey, we did do this. It was more of a mental thing for them, and so that's how we started bridging that gap.
Well, I think one of the major things for me was just building the numbers. You walk in day one, you get to meet the kids, and they say, where are the kids, Coach? They're right there. Coach, there's only 8 kids right there, So you start building the numbers, getting the kids in. There's talent already there. It has to be built, it has to be molded. You got to provide the consistency and structure that everybody's talking about. And so as we've gone, we built our numbers up, get to 25, okay, now get to 30, now get to 35. And so as we're doing that and we consistently have them there for workouts and everything that we do, that's where the number one focus was. So once we did that, now people are starting to see the talent that we have. We have 2 kids that just got offers from East Texas Baptist University. So those things all those things are in motion right now. So the other piece is taking a blank slate mentality. It's nothing. We're going to take it from a blank slate, start to build it from there the way we need to do it. And then also take the celebration pieces that maybe the expectation, it's not really reaching that, but it's moving in the right direction. It's hard for me to kind of accept praise and because I see them as consolations, but at the same time, the kids need to hear it. The kids need to know it's going in the right direction. We're moving where we're supposed to. And so when people say, hey, your kids really competed hard today, even though we lost, did we lose by 50 or did we lose by 20? Did we lose by a touchdown? So you take it from, oh, we got blown out before you got here every game to, oh, now we're competitive. So it's a consolation to me, but at least I know that we're going in the right direction. Eventually it'll get there.
Coach, you're at the middle school level. Houston ISD athletes are the most recruited kids possibly in the country because everybody's recruiting them to go outside of HISD, right? And then they get to Katy or North, wherever, and then they get recruited again. Senator King, Foreman Marshall. I digress. But you're seeing them at the middle school level. What do coaches, or what can coaches at the high school level do maybe that could say, hey, how can they sell their program better? Or have you seen any kind of interesting ways that people are selling their programs? Because you got all the middle school kids to go to the high school level. That make sense?
So you're asking me how could they, build a relationship with the coaches?
Right.
I haven't really seen a lot of it. Well, I know he has. I've talked to him before. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because I coach track too. Yeah, I gotta tell on you. So the thing, like he was saying earlier, in HISD, a lot of the coach, like it's open enrollment. So you just never know. If you build that relationship with your feeder school, they might go somewhere else. You know what I mean? So
if you don't build it, then they're definitely going somewhere.
They're definitely going somewhere else. So I think what would help if some of the coaches would come to those middle schools that feed into them, no matter what, if you think they're going to go here or there, just to talk to them and try to see if they will come to your school. But I know they just go anywhere. So it's kind of hard to know what high schools are going to come talk to you and stuff like that. So.
It is tough. It's tough to navigate for middle schoolers, middle school parents, and then as they go to high school. Coach, we were talking earlier about Cornell. You're like, hey, he's awesome. But what's it like to have, as a young coach, to have a mentor kind of in the building that you can kind of lean on, that might even be in a different sport? How important is that to have?
Well, it's great because he's been doing this for a very long time. So
that's not a shot at him being really old.
To have that on the campus level at any time, and if something goes right or wrong, a lot of times it's a lot of the wrong stuff. I go down there immediately. So it's the support is there. It definitely helps a lot that to have that knowledge and that resource right there on the campus. He's been in the community his whole life, so that helps a lot too with how to navigate and how to get out there with the community, the parents, and everything. So having him, somebody who's born and raised there, it's been a tremendous resource and asset for sure.
Well said. Coach Crockett, you're battling while at Chavez, you're battling select softball. Like if you're good, just like in basketball, you're playing select softball. You probably have 0 select softball players. Maybe you have a bunch. But we're talking about bridging that gap. How do you bridge the gap? And one of the hardest sports to maybe bridge a gap, volleyball is one, softball is the other, because the world of softball in Houston is loaded with softball players. It's just, they're all playing like AU basketball to club, whatever. How do you bridge the gap at Chavez to be competitive against the rest of the city with that kind of culture with that sport?
Well, again, I think it's a lot of opportunity. So just because they can't get to select doesn't mean they're not as good as select players. So you give them the opportunity to make themselves become just as good as them. Opening up the field, spending a lot of your time out there to help them out. Finding other coaches that can come in and also help when you're not allowed to do stuff. So there's options and opportunities to help them with, and giving them that is what's going to help them grow. So not just, well, you play select or you don't play select, so you can't play for me. I can't do anything with you. It's just trying to find that middle ground to help them out. So they can all be successful. It's just what kind of time are you going to put into it to help them be able to do that.
Right here. Morales. So, again, Milby wants a power, like a power basketball school. Now, like, the demographics may have changed. Now, how hard is it to kind of live up to the Milby name now, many years after?
I think just myself, I try to model, the people that I've seen. I had an opportunity to be a student at Milby and got to see Coach Honey, the things that he did. Coach Duffer, I worked side by side with Coach Duffer, and picked his brain, daily. So just trying to keep that history going, picking their brain, like I said, and other coaches that I had an opportunity to coach side by side or against, but yeah, that history at Milby, it's kind of unique. I think I know a lot of schools have that history, but I think at Milby, it was just inbred in me, from day one. had the opportunity to be a head coach, and Coach Honey gave me that opportunity when I didn't think I was ready for that. You know, so it just continues, and it's embedded in me.
What, when y'all are battling the odds, right, at times, where do you find the inspiration to kind of, what's the silver lining? How do you find the silver lining, you know, when you're battling odds that might be stacked against you sometimes?
I think part just the will to succeed, but also to be able to give something to our kids that maybe don't have these things. We try to expose our kids to as much as possible. I heard somebody say they want to look just as good as the Katy kids. You know, maybe the level of play is not there, but we want to expose them to that. I have a short story that kind of drives me. When I was young, I played Little League football, and we lost every game except our last game. And our coach took us. I used to be at Glenbrook Park playing Park Place Little League, and our coach took us. We won the last game. He took us to Baskin Robbins over by Hartman School, and I thought we went out of town.
Wow.
And that always stuck with me. So our kids at Milby, we try to take them out of our area, just to get them away from the community a little bit, just to see what things are outside of our community. So we take them out of town. We take them to Tomball. We take them to all the suburbs and play everybody that will play us, whether we win or lose. And it's just exposing them. So if we do get to the playoffs, which we've been successful enough to do that, my kids aren't surprised at what they see. You know, the facilities that they're going to be and the teams they're going to be against. So.
Well said. That is a great anecdotal story about that, because you're right. Like if Yates is going on a plane to go play in Hawaii, kids are probably like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I'm on a plane, or just going out of town, going out of the neighborhood. It's powerful what y'all can offer to kids. We'll wrap up like we started. I don't want to sound the old guys. I'm like the legends. How about the legends? What advice would you give younger coaches that it doesn't have to be like one sentence? What advice would you give to younger coaches?
Real quick, there's no substitute for hard work.
Perfect. Coach?
Young coaches are very, very, they want things to happen right now, very impatient. And there's no substitute for putting in time and working hard. And you've got to get better at your profession every single year. Again, we go back to our mentors. Coach Oney told me that back when I first started, we would go to clinics, and you'd go to 3 or 4 or 5 a year, how many you could go. And he said, if you learn one thing from a clinic, then it's a successful clinic. Today, for whatever reason, young coaches won't go talk, won't go listen, won't go do things like that. They're impatient with it. They don't stay with it long enough. But I promise you, the profession, as you can see, it's a great profession, but you've got to put in the time. And not everybody's cut out to be a head coach in their first or second year out of college. It's just, they don't know it. And again, they're impatient and want to get there, and they're not ready.
Yeah. Coach Fields.
I would tell them to be able to communicate and learn how to listen. There's so much going on that you don't know, you think you know. I know my first year out, I thought I was the smartest thing, but I was the dumbest I could be. But I had a great college coach, Billy Nix. And I really got down and said, this kind of guy I want to be like. I kind of adopted his philosophy. And it worked out for me kind of like it did for him. But I think you need to learn how to listen, because everybody got a way of saying things, way of doing things, and you think your way is the right way. As long as you're the assistant coach, you're always smarter than the head coach. We know that. So just kind of be able to say yourself with a righteous attitude and do it the right way.
Well said. Coach
I would say treat your community like it's part of you. Become a part of your community. on Sundays I got up and went to church at my church, but when I got finished, if it didn't take but 5 minutes, I stepped in the other church in the community. So everybody in the community knew who I was. So if a young coach, you need to get out and make sure everybody knows you and be a part of that community. And those kids appreciate you because they feel like you live in their community.
Right. Coach Nolan, what advice you give a young coach? What do they need?
Well, I used to tell the ones I really thought I had a chance to be pretty good. This is how I thought about what I thought about coaching. Coaching is what I would do regardless of whether they paid me or not. I mean, obviously you have to pay your bills and put shelter and a roof over your head. But if I had all the money in the world, I'd still do exactly what I do right now. And you know, if you kind of can't see yourself in that category, then maybe this isn't what you need to be doing. You know, if you're just looking for a paycheck, this is a crappy place to be. You know?
Right.
You know, Rocky or Ray or somebody, they're gonna eat your lunch. They're just gonna eat it up. You know?
Yeah.
So that's what I would, you know, is make sure you're getting in this thing for the right reason, because it's gonna be frustrating. It takes a lot of time, and you got to really buy in and want to do it. On the other hand, I think your assistant coaches and I think the kids see that too. You know.
Finally, when you're able, Coach Wise, Coach, when y'all are able to hoist a state championship for HISD, and you know y'all have been there as well, what is it like? I mean, it's like you're playing almost for 23 other high schools. What's it like when you hoist a state championship for wrestling, or a kid does, for HISD?
Well, first of all, I think that all of these coaches here are visionaries, and they're proof of the fact that HISD has a lot to offer if you're just willing to do the work. You know, I came from a district that had everything, and I came here, and a lot of my colleagues were like, why are you going there, you know, when you have it all here? And then I turn around and I whoop their butts. And it's just untapped resources. And so there's so much fulfillment when you are the have-nots and you beat the haves. And, you know, so I am very proud to be a part of HISD, and everyone that we go around, that we beat, we let them know. I remember, you know, I come from, you know, the last 10 years I've been in a district of 3 or 4 other districts combined. And when we beat them, we're like, how I hear the parents, how could we lose to the HISD? And it's like, you want to let them know that these kids are just as talented, or if not more talented, than anybody else out in the suburbs or anywhere else. So when you go out there and you show the area, the region, and the state that, you know, they're the best of the best, there's a sense of pride. And so for me personally, you know, being here now, you know, 11 years, that is kind of what we want to do. We want to show everybody else that our kids in our communities in the inner city are just as good, if not better, than anyone else, if you have the people that are willing to put the work in and get those kids going in the right direction.
Coach Wise, what's it like?
I would just say, you know, I have to piggyback on what you have on number one, but a lot of it's going to be just from not only the community and our team, but the coaches that came before. And again, I listen and learn from everybody, and just like Coach Seals, you know, that's the mentor that I've listened to, and even coaches that I hadn't met in person, like Rocky is one that I knew what he was doing with his program. So that's part of what let me know that we can not only win a state championship, but a national championship because of what they're doing, and Duff when he won state. And so when it's like that, and then you look at guys that I really respect, like Bruce and Ralph, and when you got the right mindset, because I know we're not playing them, or we're playing someone else, or we're trying to win a state championship, I know they for me. And I think they know that I'm for them because of our communication with each other. And so anything that I can do to help them to win and to get to where they need to go, they know that. I know that without a doubt in my mind, that they understand that from me, and I understand that from them. So that first year we won, we had nothing. We didn't have locker room, weight room, barely had a gym to practice in, and so, but I grew up in that, so it was just, you know, it wasn't like looking at what they have and I don't have. It was just, you know, that's what we have, and we gotta make it work. And so that's one of the things I look at when a lot of people complain, like even with what we have. I try and look at not what we have, but do what you do with what you have. And so my respect for all the coaches, because I know we're all in the same boat. And so to be able to do that, and then people can come and see, well, HISD, they winning just as much as anybody else. And so, you know, that makes you feel really good.
Coach, what was it like?
Excuse me?
What was it like winning state championships and just being...
About a national championship.
Well, perfect, national championship. I mean, what was it like when...
It's a great feeling, but I tell you what, most of these coaches will tell you, hey, they regret the fact that, you know, they lost a couple games. You dwell on that, not the games you won, the games you lost, you know. Never been unbeaten. But I tell you what, you can't lose a shutout. You can lose a no-hitter, but you can't lose a shutout. So you got to play defense no matter what sport you're playing.
Coach,
well, I'm an HISD product.
You like that shit.
And being able to, for our kids to win that trophy, and it makes me proud as an HISD product whenever Greg wins it at Yates, and one of these days Bruce and Ralph, they're going to win it at Heights and at Bel Air. And it's just, HISD is a special place, and it's, being a coach in HISD, you kind of have a chip on your shoulder because everybody else does have a bunch of things. And then they talk a little bit of noise to you because they're like, how the hell can you do anything with what you've got? And it's like, well, how can you not do anything with what you've got?
That's right.
And it's just,
that's right.
As you retire, you look back and you see the new coaches coming in, and you pray that they've got the same attitude and pride in the district, not just their team. I do know that Coach Walker, Mr. Walker, is really trying to do a great job with what's going on with HISD. Our facilities are getting better and better, and the new schools' facilities are getting better and better, but that's not good enough. It's got to be in this room. And again,
Is he looking for a job or what? He wants to get retired.
No, hell no. But again, being an HISD product, Greg's an HISD product. I remember him playing at Madison, and seeing these kinds of things makes me proud that I was able to spend a career in HISD, fortunate enough to have great kids that won a state championship, and seeing what good things are still happening in HISD.
This is the first of many, maybe. Coach Walker, thanks so much for having us out. This is the heartbeat of Houston. HISD is really the heartbeat of Houston. Just so many schools, the largest district in the state of Texas, but kudos to y'all. Thank you for having us and letting us do this. This was awesome. I'm going to rewatch the film.
You guys for getting it out there. You know,
You got it.
Your company's great for promoting our kids.
We're going to rewatch this, and I think I'm going to make like a video that I'm going to give to all of our people that work for us, so, you know, motivate them as well. But hey, thanks again. What you said was great. It's not about the money, man. It is like, if you're not in this thing to coach kids, you just might as well not be in it. So, thanks again, everybody. Good job.